Evening all and welcome back to From the Terrace, by the fans,
For the
fans.
Lovely.
And yet again, we're sitting here after another crazy week of football. Champions League, Premier League, and disruption in Barcelona internally yet again. Getting straight on into it with, of course, my favourite three colleagues, Connor Hack.
What's happening?
Dan Wiltshire.
Hello.
And Miss Jamie McAnally.
Miss.
Getting straight into it. Barca resigns from Barcelona. A big win for Lionel Messi. How do we think that's going to change the course of Barcelona? There's been a lot of turmoil in the summer. Is that him staying then?
He was always staying.
Yeah.
I don't think he was ever leaving, ever.
It happens every year, doesn't it? And he gets a new contract, a bit more money, and then they sign him back up again and all smiles.
It did feel different this year, though. It did feel a lot more was behind it, and there was actual friction, not in between Messi and Bartomeu, but also Piqué and a couple of other players. Obviously, with the presidency coming up in 6 months' time, he couldn't have stayed on any longer than he did. He only has 6 months left. So with him resigning early, does that actually make a difference at all? Because he wasn't going to be there past March.
Probably makes a difference for Koeman.
Yeah.
Because he's got to have a really good season this year. Because there's rumours already, weren't there, that the new president will come in. He wants Xavi. Xavi's his man. Obviously, Messi wants Messi to stay. They've got a great relationship. So
The other guy running for it wants Guardiola.
Yeah, there's also rumours about Pep Guardiola coming back. So Koeman's probably their caretaker style, I'd say, for a year.
Do you think Koeman knew that before coming in? He knew it was going to be a one year thing. And to be honest, would he even want it for longer? Looking at the state of Barcelona at the minute.
I think he probably looked at it and thought, if I have a good season here and we do really well, there's a chance of me keeping this job because this is his dream job, isn't it? He used to be at Barcelona when he was a player. To leave the Holland job where he did, with them doing really well, Euros coming up, probably a good chance of winning that. He obviously thought in his head that if he goes in and has a good season at Barcelona this year, there's a good chance he'll keep that job. But he walks into an absolute cauldron of hate, basically, and it didn't go the way he wanted, I'd assume.
There's no way he took that job expecting. He might have thought in the back of his mind he might only be given a year, but he's gone in to that job with a long-term plan. Like Dan said, it's his dream job. It's the team he played for. There's no way he's gone in there thinking I've only got a year to try and prove myself. He, in his head, believes he's got that job for a while to try and build something. He knows what's going on at Barcelona. He's not silly. All the ex-pros and legends, they all know what goes on behind the scenes at Barcelona because they're all still well connected to the club. So he knew what was going on. And I think he's gone in there thinking that he can be the man to sort of turn it around. But obviously they've not really had sort of any money to spend in terms of him bringing in players that he wants. He was linked with a few in the summer. So he's going to expect some money, I'm guessing, in January, maybe next summer if he's still in charge by that time, to try and bring his own players in and be given a chance. But with the way Barcelona's run, new president goes in, he could make the change straight away. And that'll be the end of Koeman.
But he can't really lose, though. I was just going to say, he can't really lose. Like, he's taken the job. Worst case scenario, he has it for a year. New president comes in and he goes his own way, as has been quite well documented. But on the flip side, as Dan said, if he does do well, he's not expected to do much because of the finances due to Corona, whatever. Players coming to the end of the cycle, like the team, the squad, whatever. Like Suarez is gone, Piqué's getting older. He offered to leave. Messi's obviously 33 now, so it's a bit of a win-win. Well, not win-win. He can't lose, is what I'd say. Really, if he gets sacked as expected, like it's that's he's at par. But if it goes well, who knows?
So what should Barcelona be expecting this season? Because they've got the new president coming in March. The two favourites, one wants Xavi, one wants Pep. They've got no money as it is. So January, they're not going to buy anyone big for Koeman. So what they should be expecting? They've started quite slow in the La Liga. Champions League, they had a fantastic result yesterday against Juventus. They're top of that table. What should the aim be for Barcelona this season then?
Top four secured from every year, pretty much. I can't see Barcelona not reaching the Champions League from the Spanish league. I just can't see it. I don't think there's 4 teams good enough to stop them from getting there. So they haven't really got to worry about that side of things. So you can imagine a secure top four football Champions League for another year. Realistically, ahead of that, I mean, it's a long old season, but can't really see them doing much. It's the same team as last year, essentially. And I know they had their problems behind the scenes and whatever, but I still don't think they're good enough. They've got aging players there. Every team runs its cycle eventually. And unfortunately, it just looks like it's run its cycle. Both the Spanish clubs do, if I'm honest, Real Madrid and Barcelona. It happens in cycles football. They dominate for years, and then the Germans will dominate, and then the English will dominate. It's something that's gone on for years and years when you look across like Europe, especially in the modern era. And it's just teams run their cycle, revamp, come back, and then maybe in 2 years' time, you'd be sitting there thinking, wow, Barcelona are the best side in the world again. But at the moment, I don't see them doing much this season.
I still think they should be going for the league. Even though they're not where they were, but Madrid aren't where they were. None of the Spanish clubs are really turning up trees in any of the competitions they're in. Like you said, I know Barcelona had a good result against Juventus, but there's no way their squad's good enough to win the Champions League still. So La Liga, for me, should be their priority this year.
No one's really improved in Spain. I think the only team that you could probably point to is Atletico getting Suarez in, because I think that's a brilliant signing for them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think for Barca to let him leave to go to Atletico is quite a mad move, and could come back to haunt them at the end of the season. But Real Madrid didn't do anything in the summer, did they? Really? Barcelona obviously couldn't. They've lost one of the best strikers in the world over the last 10 years. So they're doing what they've done the last couple of years and just heavily relying on Messi to pull them out of a hole. Couple of promising youngsters, but yeah, I don't know, that Spanish league, as Dan said, it's coming to a bit of an end of a cycle, is stagnating a bit. I think German teams and English teams seem to be pushing on at the moment.
No one's really standing out though this year. I know it's a crazy season, but you look across all the leagues, and yeah, Bayern Munich still looks strong, but they've been beaten heavily by Hoffenheim already this year. RB Leipzig are top of the Bundesliga, and United turned them over 5-0, 4-0, 5-0?
5.
I mean, it's no, you don't look at the German league and think, oh, they terrify me. But then I'm guessing they probably at the minute don't look at the Premier League and think, oh, any of those teams terrify me at the minute, because no one's really at the level that they should be at.
I think it comes back to, sorry, Dad, go on, Dan.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a lot of the teams, obviously the seasons have all started a bit crazy. I think a lot of it is owed to the fact that a lot of the lesser teams are a lot further ahead in terms of fitness pre-season wise than the top teams, because they did have that extended break due to them being in Europe longer. We saw a couple of obviously English teams, it's been quite well documented, we've spoken about it, have been slow starters. Barca have started slow. Munich you mentioned there. So it's probably one of those things where they get stronger as the season goes on, and we'll see, as it always does, the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of them things, like I was hearing like people talk at work today about like it could be a team like Tottenham winning the league this season, whatever. It could do, but you look across the leagues and everyone's saying, oh yeah, it could be like the underdog year. But eventually people find form, and these top teams do come to the top. Like Bayern Munich start slow some years. You know, last year they were terrible, weren't they? And then all of a sudden, the turn in the year, they picked up, and I don't think they lost a game, or barely lost a game.
Yeah, they had what's his name? Is it Kovac or something?
Yeah, they did Kovac, yeah.
Robert Kovac, yeah. He got sacked, and that flick came, and as you said, did unbelievably well. So
Juventus do the same thing. You always think like Inter Milan have got a chance, Lazio, and then all of a sudden they go on and winning one, and the league's over. So
it's squad depth, and at the end of the day, this season probably more than ever, squad depth is going to be such a massive factor, just because of the sheer volume of games getting packed into a shorter amount of time. So the teams that can rotate and still win games, they are going to be the ones that are successful this year.
I think it'll be after the Christmas period. After you get that mad period, because it's going to be mad between now and then anyway, and Christmas and New Year's is mad every year. So I think once that gets out of the way, that's when you'll start to see the better teams with the better players, the bigger squads, just start accumulating points and getting further away from they're not lesser teams. There's still some big clubs there, but you know, like you said, people talking about Tottenham could potentially win the league. I don't think they've got a big enough squad to maintain a challenge for an entire season. It's the same sort of thing happened with Leicester last year, and they were flying until after Christmas and New Year's, and then they struggled. I think teams like Tottenham, Everton, Leeds and Aston Villa to a certain extent as well have all started pretty well, considering. Will do the same thing. I think they might still pick up some big results between now and then. And it'll be the same across all the European leagues. Your Bayern Munich's, your Dortmund's, your Juve's, Barca's, Madrid's, the Premier League big boys, they'll all start to accumulate points, I think, after the new year, and they'll go on consistent runs and just pull away from the rest.
It'll be tighter this year, I think. I think there won't be like any gaps. I mean, time will tell, but I don't think there'll be too many gaps where it's like you won it last year at Canada, you know. I think it'll be a lot tighter. I think there'll be a lot more drop points. You'll probably see the team winning it this year will probably lose a lot more games than in recent years. You know, because it's already started like that. You know, teams are probably dropping points left, right, and centre. So it's only going to go on throughout the season. And the games, so many games, the volume of games in such a short period of time, it's going to take its toll on teams. Like it's kind of taken away the quality a little bit. At the moment, it just seems a little bit sort of lack of quality, lack of fitness. Everyone's sort of trying to find their feet still as they go. There's no time for training. No one's got a chance to get on the training ground and talk to the team, because as soon as they do have a break, it's an international team break. You know, you're cramming in 3 games in a week. So, yeah, I mean, after New Year, realistically, but I think it will be still tight at the top of the tables.
Well, as we're talking about the big teams there from all across Europe, really not struggling at the minute, but starting slow. PSG aren't top as you thought they would be. AC Milan are top of the Serie A, with Juventus coming in third at the minute. They look almost spineless in some games when you've watched them back. Also with Pirlo there as well. But what I thought was interesting was Bartomeu, when he came out and said that actually in last recent weeks, we've actually accepted a proposal to join a European Super League. And you'd imagine all these teams that are starting off slow would like, you know, a slice of the pie there, and would actually probably more owners than players, managers and fans would like to push their way and push that forwards. If it was to happen, how would it happen? But also, what effect would it have on every other team that doesn't get involved with it? Because you're basically dismantling football as we know it.
First of all, I wouldn't take what he said as gospel just yet. At the minute, it strikes me as a very bitter man who's been fighting a losing battle for a long time and wants to kick up a massive fuss and cause a stir across the fucking whole football world. So I wouldn't take it for gospel yet. But at the same time, he's not got any reason to say it unless there is something in place. I personally am really against the idea. I know some of these bigger clubs might look at it and think it's good for them, but it changes the whole landscape of football. And football is a bit of a messed up world at the minute with everything that's going on. And I think something like that is just it'll tear the leagues apart, tear it apart.
Especially the English leagues.
Well, Bartomeu said the reason he's doing it for Barcelona is to guarantee the sustainability and financial power that Barcelona have. So if Barcelona, one of the world's biggest teams, one of the most commercial teams going, with some of the biggest players and biggest names to play for it, are struggling with money and they have to move to a Super League, imagine all that revenue goes out and then it's Betis, it's, you know, Sociedad, Valencia, Villarreal. How are they going to then start coping with that money once that's all gone? You know,
it kind of ties into the Scottish. Remember when we had the debate about the Scottish teams joining the English league? It's pretty much exactly the same situation about what we discussed really about it, what it would do to the teams below. And we had that big debate about whether it would help them, you know, potentially winning the leagues, so have a chance of that, and then losing the appeal of the bigger teams in the league and what they bring to it. So it's quite interesting. That's come sort of around, considering it's kind of the same situation.
I think it's slightly different, to be honest. From what I've read anyway, this Super League is being talked about as something that would run alongside domestic leagues.
I don't know.
It's almost like a replacement for the Champions League to protect the bigger clubs' interest and make sure they've always got big European games that are going to attract interest and therefore attract money. And that's how I read it was being talked about.
I don't know how you could possibly focus on both though. I don't know the amount of games they're talking about having in this league. I don't know where you're going to be able to focus on a 38 game Premier League season, and then also there was like 18 teams in that. Maybe we've got to play each other twice as well. How do you do that? How do you fit that into a whole season? Because the Premier League's grueling by itself, let alone having to play a league alongside it.
It also kills competition. You know, you look at, as we said earlier, Leicester had a flying season last year, just missed out on Champions League. Why should they? What's the rules if they get into the top four? Do they get a chance to play in that at all, or because they're not as big and not as commercialised as Chelsea, not. Arsenal, Liverpool, United? You know, why should they have such a fantastic
Champions League as well? Like the Champions League is the greatest club tournament. like to win it is an amazing feeling. To get into it for most clubs is unreal. You earn enough money getting into that competition. This new Super League is just going to take away all the glitz and glamour that the Champions League brings. Either that, or they just scrap the Champions League altogether, which again I'm completely against and think is a ridiculous idea. I just don't see how this Super League benefits anyone bar the clubs themselves. And I know they've got to look after themselves, and they are football clubs, but they're businesses at the same time. And we've spoken about all this sort of thing before. But at the end of the day, football is for people like us. They play the game and get paid to play the game for people like us to watch it and enjoy and spend money on it in different ways. And it's a bigger part of life than just the clubs running as a business. And some clubs I think are now at a point where the fans aren't really that important.
I think that's been like that for years though, hasn't it? The fans' voice, the fans are, that we're just almost cows to a slaughter. You know, it's like an abattoir. Us walking into Wembley now, we're not fans, we're cash cows for, the people running it. That's what we are. We have been for years. Hopefully this will shake it up and maybe twist things. I don't think it's going to change necessarily. But, as for fans are just, if we don't turn up to a game, someone else turns up to the game. And if they don't turn up, Swedish people who are big fans will come over for the weekend and watch the game, and they'll get fleeced. It's the way it is.
Yeah, it's business. I mean, I'm all for football evolving. Like, it's been like that for years. You think about the European Cup evolved into the Champions League. The Premier League came into English football, and that there's always an evolving elements of football. It's always changing. So I'm happy that it's not standing still. But this one just doesn't sit right. It just doesn't feel like it's going to be good for anybody. And like the lower league clubs and that, it would just kill the magic that they have. And that is like the heartbeat of football. Like kids, like Joe Cole. I was watching an interview with Joe Cole talking about kids coming up from the street and that and wanting to play for their local team and stuff, and that's how they get their chance in football. That would just kill it. It would kill off local talent, and the English talents already was suffering for years. So I can imagine what's going to happen when there's no clubs for them to join.
Well, I heard an interesting theory about the 18 league team. It's going to be a bit like NFL and NBA, where there's no relegation, 18 teams. But then if you're going to Americanize it and commercialize it so much, every single team in America that they have, it's very rare that they have more than 2 in one state, unless it's a big state. Look at LA and New York as well. At what point do they go, well, actually, we don't need 2 teams in Milan. We've got Milan commercialized already. Let's move one to, the next best one. Let's put one, on the outskirts where we can get, wherever they're the big place in Italy. I'm not that cultured. But what's then stopping them saying, we don't need 2 teams here or there?
You couldn't think of another place in Italy.
Well, no, one that doesn't already have a big team. I didn't want to say, Rome, because they've already got 2 teams.
Just Milan, and that's it.
Well, yeah, it's like,
from merging the 2 Milan clubs.
No, I get what you're saying.
Well, yeah, exactly that. What is stopping them from making that next step to commercialise it even more?
Yeah,
that's between the clubs, like their individual businesses. That's between that. The authorities couldn't do that. They can't.
Well, not the authorities. I'm actually talking about the actual owners themselves. The 2, if you look at the project Big Six, the 2 spearheads of that were Liverpool and United, 2 American owners that probably like the NBA model, who like the NFL model, and they'd probably look at it and think, yeah, we can make a pretty buck here if we can get it our way.
You're talking about big owners sort of gelling together and working together. Like, I can't see that at all. No one's going to turn around and say that.
You bring 2 clubs together and make them into one club. You can still only get 11 fucking players on the pitch. You can still only fill 1 stadium for a game. So that's a mad theory.
Well, I think that's very unlikely. But it could turn into a franchise where they go, we're going to take it out of this city and move it to that city because there is more money there. It is more commercially viable.
Then just
it's more accessible.
Just go one further, fuck club football off, and just do countries.
It could do, but I doubt
it could end up going that way. The way these people are thinking and talking at the minute, it's fucking mental, man.
Mad. The point I made earlier was that I completely and wholeheartedly disagree with this European Super League idea. I think it's a load of shit, but I can see why they're talking about it. The world's fucked right now. We don't know when we're going to get out of whatever's going on with Corona. And at the end of the day, as we've said, they are businesses. That's what football is about, making money now. They've
probably been waiting for it. They've probably been waiting for it. There's been talk about it for years, so this is probably the perfect opportunity for them. So everyone's struggling.
it's all about making money. There's a reason that every single club brings out 3 different kits every single year. There's a reason why there's now about 8 different sponsors on the shirts rather than just one. It's just about money now.
That's why it doesn't sit.
That's
what I mean. Like you said, we're in a fucked up time and everyone's struggling. So they've been speaking about this sort of European Super League for years, but the fans have never taken to the idea ever. They've always fucking put it down straight away and said how much they don't like it. So now at a time when everyone is struggling, things are really bad, all of a sudden it's like, boom, football's going this way now and you're just going to have to deal with it. We're already fucked enough as it is at the minute.
Yeah,
but I get what you're saying about them being businesses, but at the same time, like, you've got to think about your fan base. We've already seen that fans can quite easily boycott things and do amazing things when they put their minds to it. We've seen it over the years. We've seen it now with the food bank stuff. Fans have a massive voice in football when they come together collectively to do it. And if they really are against this European Super League stuff, there could be uproar between fans. I know what you're saying. Fans will always go to games and fans will always support their teams and always do this. But it's not stopping them from doing something about it or protesting against it. And I just don't like it.
You can underestimate the people. Do you remember when Cardiff's owner came in and said he wanted to change everything about the club, change the badge, change the colour that they play in because he didn't like blue? And they were like, nah, no way, not a chance. Yeah. And I think they won in the end because at the end of the day,
They did go red for a bit, though. They did go red for a bit.
One season,
yeah. They got changed.
One season in red. It's the same with Hull. Hull's managed to change their name to Hull Tigers or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mm.
Apparently, Steve Bruce sent a message out to the fans and was like, please don't let him change the name.
If you're an owner, you want to go to them games. And if you've got 30,000 people screaming you're a wanker, eventually you're going to be a bit pissed off. And you're going to think,
when you say that, look at West Ham. Look at West Ham when you say that, though. Because they've had uproar in their stadium. Uproar. They didn't want to leave the bowling ground. They left there for the Olympic Stadium. And they have had people charge the pitch. They've been verbally abused. But because people keep paying, because people keep giving them money, they're able to keep getting away with it.
They're fans. They are fans, though. They do genuinely want to turn it around. Like, they are genuinely fans of West Ham. Like, they're just like, it probably hurts them as much as it hurts the fans. Like, they genuinely do want to turn things around there, where some owners don't really care about the fans. Mike Ashley, probably a prime example. Someone who just doesn't care is just probably trolling them by this point.
Are you a fan of the West Ham owners? Just to confirm.
No, I'm not. No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were saying they were fans.
But they haven't. It's not like they haven't spent money on that team. They can't turn around and say they haven't put any money into that club. They bought players. Maybe not.
They just make bad decisions.
Maybe they haven't made the right decisions at all times. But they do genuinely care about that club, especially the two men, David Gold and Sullivan. Yeah. They're fans, and Brady's obviously what she does. I don't know. But.
What did you make of, as you brought on there, just Mike Ashley? The £14.95 is, it was on the verge of being, reportedly on the verge of being scrapped. He had a voice to say, before it even started, say, no, I don't agree with it. Only Leicester did. And then when it broke on, the Daily Mail, or whatever it was, that said, actually, they're looking to scrap it. He comes out and says, well, actually, no, we can do it for like a £5 if you want, guys. So it makes him look good, saying, look, we're going to knock a tenner off it. But he's only said it once it's the option's gone of him making money.
That's exactly what he's done. He's done it to try and look like this mad guy to the fan. He wants the Geordies to like rally behind him for the first time in their lives and him be like the messiah that's trying to get rid of this pay-per-view. And then when he finds out they're going to scrap it and he's not going to make any money from it, he's like, oh, no, hang on. I didn't say get rid of it altogether. I just said reduce the amount of money that you pay us. He's an idiot.
Businessman.
Well, that's the thing. He is a billionaire. All his companies that he made from the bottom up, he's done it all by himself. So is it hard for a billionaire owner to give up any say-so to a manager or sport director if he doesn't really know them or trust them? Because everything he's earned in his life has come from his back and the sweat of his brow. So does he have actually justification in doing that?
He's probably a narcissist. I don't know. He's mad. I can't believe he's still at that club. I mean, I remember when he brought in the Cockney Mafia, and they wanted his head then, but somehow or another he is just there all the time. Like, he's just a constant figure. He's obviously tried to sell it a few times, and for whatever reason it hasn't come off for him. He got unlucky with the recent one. They're just
to court. He's taken the Premier League to court over that, hasn't he?
I'm not surprised.
And I can't imagine him taking anyone to court if he doesn't think he's in for the money.
100%.
If he doesn't think he's got a point to sell that place, to sell Newcastle, not the place, and if he has to spend money on lawyers and a hearing for him to finally get that place sold, he must know that Premier League are in the wrong here for not being allowed to sell it to the Saudis.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I love it.
On to big teams in the Premier League. We saw Carragher and Neville speak about projects. The big project that was wholeheartedly disgraced throughout the whole of the league. Did it bring up some points which were good and some points that were bad? Just wanted your boys' take on it, really. Yes, there were some great bits to it, but it almost was like compromising. You can have this, you can have everything you ever wanted, but we're just gonna take everything we want first.
I agree with what I watched the Carragher and Neville thing on it. I thought it was really interesting because I'd done research on it before to try and get my head around what it was, but you never really fully understand in full. And I think they went over some really good stuff. And yeah, if you look at what their project was and what they wanted, some of the aspects of it were fantastic. Some of the aspects actually could have really worked. But again, there was other aspects to it that just didn't sit right with me, and I'm guessing with majority of other fans, because it got, like you said, disgraced in the football world straight away. The bailout for the smaller clubs, yeah, that's great. That's perfect. But again, I just feel like it's the big clubs trying to flex their muscle and show that they're the big clubs, so they should be the ones that are in charge and get to make decisions at the end of the day, which isn't right.
Being devil's advocate with it, two things. One, I didn't agree with Neville when he said there's 72 teams in the EFL that wouldn't agree to it. I think there's probably many a League One and League Two team that would agree with it because the Big Six probably won't affect them and that they're getting more money from it. So I disagree with Neville on that point. Playing devil's advocate with the Liverpool, United, and the 6 or 7 teams that were the big ones. Looking at it from their point of view, why should the Premier League put a vote up and a team that are in the Premier League now and could get relegated and not be seen for another 5 years have an equal say as to them who will be there as an ever-present? Would you not see that from their point of view to say, actually, you know what, why should a yo-yo team like West Brom decide our rules for us when half the time they're not going to be abiding by it, but yet we will?
Yeah, but that's the thing. West Brom aren't deciding the rules. It's a collective.
Well, no, it wasn't just them, but it was them as an example. There's 3 teams go down and go up every year,
but
and it could be any one of the 3.
They don't deserve to say, basically.
It's still
just devil's advocate. Why should a one-season wonder or a season wonder like Huddersfield get an equal vote as to Man United, who have been an ever-present and have won the most league titles?
Yeah, no, I get it. I do kind of get it in a way. I mean, it does make a little bit of sense. But then at the end of the day, everyone's a Premier League team for however long they're there for. So it's just the way it is.
Yeah. At the end of the day, at the start of every single season, the FA will sit down with the clubs and the Premier League and the EFL and everyone, and they will come up with a set of plans and contracts and deals and stuff that are going to set out for that season. So whilst there are 20 teams in the league or 24 in the Championship and below, yeah, they do get an equal right. They do get an equal say. Long-term decisions are probably not so much in the club's hands, and that's where they tried to take control of it with this idea, because it was the big clubs, exactly the same with the Super League that we've just been talking about, is them trying to monopolise it to protect themselves, because they just want to make sure that they're financially stable and in control of things. It's pretty much the same concept.
Yeah. But surely that worry of them not being able to be financially stable, etc. Of course, with the pandemic, you never know what's going to go on. But everything they're worried about are mostly internal factors that they should be micromanaging and managing themselves. So if you've got teams who are worrying they're going to do, like Liverpool, another 30 years of no trophy, Premier League or league title, that's up to you as an individual and an internal base to look at it, understand why you're going wrong, and then making that change yourself. You having more or less money than Leicester City, who won it before Liverpool, makes no change to that at all. You have to get your in-house in order before you worry about, lesser teams sneaking up on you and overtaking you. Surely, why should they have to, as you say, monopolise it to secure themselves when there are other teams who are doing it a lot more, I don't know what the word would be, a lot more naturally, rather than just having someone come in and spending millions of pounds on them.
But then if this project and this idea ever came into fruition, they've got that safety net. So that's them trying to do it. It's like if you we work in insurance, so that's a heavily commission-based job at times. It's like you saying you shouldn't try and get yourself a better salary, and you should just stick to the lower salary with the chance of good bonuses. You should get your own house in order to be better at your job and earn your bonuses to earn your money. It was like, well, no, if I can sit back and get a higher salary, I've got that safety net, and then I don't have to worry. That's essentially the sort of plans that they were looking to put in place, just on obviously a much bigger scale. So you can see why. And it's, as you said, with the pandemic and the uncertainty in finance and everything, really, it's understandable. It was just very, very flawed, as Connor said.
You think
I think it came at pretty much a bad point for them as well. Like, everyone's kind of struggling at the moment, and it kind of just felt like a bit distasteful. I think the timing was all wrong. Really.
And that's why they done it though, because everyone's struggling. They could almost put their power forward.
Yeah. I think they didn't sit right with a lot of people. I think people were kind of like, hold on a minute, that's the saying about it, because it's trying to be underhanded a little bit.
Yeah, they didn't go about it the right way.
Should have come at the end of the season. They should have sat down and said, look, we've had this idea, whatever. But they've done it bang slap in the middle of the season when everyone's on their arse. They got potential another lockdown coming soon. People don't know what's going to happen. And they've said, oh, by the way, we've got this big project and this is what we're going to think of doing. And it's like, it doesn't sit right. All of it doesn't sit right. European Super League doesn't sit right, and that doesn't sit right at the moment because there's bigger things to worry about. And it just felt a little bit.
Yeah. Underhanded is a good word. Underhanded is a very good word, because it was almost like you drip feed in that, we're gonna give all the smaller clubs the bailout packages, but then on the flip side of it, they're fucking laughing behind the backs because it's like, but then we're monopolising it and taking control of all the decisions. It was almost like they tried to pull the wool over everyone's eyes to dress it up as a better deal for the bigger picture, when realistically what it actually was a way of them taking control, the few taking control of the many, rather than it being a more fair competition.
Yeah.
So with, as we've seen, I think Gallagher pointed out that, a lot of teams, they actually don't help out other teams, with Steve Parrish saying that why would I help out potential rival who can win, take our spot, win our trophies. But then you look in Germany, how many times Bayern Munich have actually helped another team out financially. Probably the most notorious one was Borussia Dortmund, who actually went on and 10 years ago won 2 titles. It hasn't actually hurt Bayern Munich. If anything, it's enhanced them, because not only did they take their best players for free, but it means they weren't stagnating at the top and they had to improve and move to that next level. Yeah,
but they cherry pick, don't they, at the German league? They pretty much got it on lock. They take everyone's talent every season from them. So they never have the opportunity to get close to them. Like Dortmund were pretty much anomaly, really, because no one's breaking that Bayern Munich stranglehold, realistically. And without heavy investment, like Leipzig are trying. They've got a bit of the financial backing, but realistically, Bayern Munich have had that whole thing tied up for years and years and years. They go every season, pick out the best players that they want, and then leave the rest for everyone else.
Well, another big point of the big project was, more money into grassroots. If we put more money into grassroots, we've got more British players, playing the Premier League, playing for the top 6. Do you think that would then stop this madness of English players being overhyped and overpriced, because there'll be more on the market for us to see?
No, because we've got rules set in place that mean every squad has to have X amount of English players. Every squad has to have X amount of youth players available or whatever. So because there is that need for it, there's always going to be a hike up in price. And obviously there's so much money that just goes into the Premier League as it is that probably adds X% on before you even start talking.
What we're doing is stopping our young English players from playing for top English sides. So we've got kids in these youth systems that we end up paying tens of thousands of pounds a week. And then because they're on that money, they get that complex that, well, if I'm earning this, you clearly think highly of me. So surely I should be pushing to get in the first team. And when they're not, we're then losing these players to your foreign teams that are picking these players up left, right and centre. Or these players are moving on to what they consider to be a big club for them, a big move. And then they're just falling by the wayside because they don't have the mentality to have to fight for a living. Kids growing up back in the day, when we first started watching football, you look at some of the players that we grew up loving, like from Liverpool as Gerrard and Carragher. You hear the stories about what they had to do as youth players, coming up cleaning boots and cleaning cars and running to the shop and driving the pros around and that. That's
They're
a
hungry.
tough upbringing.
They're hungry.
Do you know what I mean? It makes you hungry. It makes you want it more. We're paying
Stuff
these
wasn't handed
kids.
to them.
Yeah, we're paying them ridiculous amounts of money.
These
And
kids are
realistically,
millionaires.
they're not having to work for it.
These kids are millionaires at like 19, 20. And realistically, when you reach that kind of money at that age, you can't keep the same level of hunger, and it's just the way life goes. Probably happens to a lot of footballers where they're like multi-millionaires at the age of like 20, 21. And how much further can you go in the game then, realistically? If you're there for a financial gain, realistically. Yeah, you like to win trophies and that, but that's financial side to it is a massive issue. And once you've got all that money, you kind of think, I've made it here. Danny Drinkwater, like for example, was playing some really good football at Leicester, looked a good player in that. He got signed for Chelsea, and he kind of just looks like, I mean, yeah, we probably didn't treat him that well, whatever. They kind of have this air about him. It's kind of like, yeah, I've made it. Like, I'm Danny Drinkwater. Goes on loan, behaves like a bit of a knob. He's thinking, yeah, I've won the Premier League title, blah, blah. It's like, you haven't done anything, really. There's still a lot of way to go in the game. And it's like, he's paid 30 million for him, and there's no way a player like him should have been worth 30 million. We got these players that have just had a couple of good games for their clubs, and all of a sudden they're the saviour for England. Media's to blame for it, and I think the money side's to blame for it. I think they're two major issues. The media and the money breeds an air of sort of arrogance.
Well, how do you change that then? Because if we look at someone, for example, there must be a way to maybe not lower prices, but salary caps, etc. But it's more not only the fact that these players are getting a lot of money, but let's say, for example, whether you like him or not, Declan Rice, he goes to Chelsea, let's say 60 million. But then let's say, Everton have a young English player that people are after, and they believe he's better than Declan Rice. Why should they go, well, we believe he's better, pay us more money for what you got for Declan Rice? It's not just a domino effect that's just going to be never ending.
That is what it's like now. That's exactly what goes on now. You hear it all the time. Players move for big money, and then there'll be other English players at other teams that are being touted for big moves, and their managers or owners come out straight away and say, well, this guy went for 60 million, so we at least want 60 or 70 million for our player, because they see him as being on a par. That's already what it's like now. It's got to a point where there's no way to reverse the way it is with these English players. We overhype them, and then when they don't perform, we throw them under the bus straight away. And that's just the way it is.
The pool isn't big enough in England for players to choose from, realistically. We haven't got a massive pool. We're not a big country to begin with, like compared to some of the other countries. And these players that are like, your Rashfords, your Sanchos, people like that, they bring in such a revenue to the club that you're going to want to pay them the big money, or you're going to want to pay the big bucks to bring them into the club, because like there's not that many players like that for England. There's not the big stars. We haven't got stars. The whole 11's not full of stars. You look at the Spain team that won the World Cup and the Euros and stuff. You look for that whole team. Everyone was a world-class player. We haven't got that. For us.
We've had it before, though, and nothing's ever come of it.
Again, because we overhype and throw under the bus.
But it feels like it's a modern thing. I'm not too sure. I mean, I suppose Lampard went for 21 million to Chelsea, whatever, but it feels like it's become more of a modern thing that these players are going for more and more money, like these English players. It just feels like
the money side of it. Money side of it definitely is a modern thing.
Yeah, I think us as a country are very arrogant, and we have a massive sense of entitlement when it comes to football in particular. We think, we invented the game. We have some sort of right to be classed as one of the top teams, and it's like, you don't. You earn your keep. You graft at your craft. You graft at, that was actually right. You graft and you graft and you graft. You work hard, and then obviously the quality comes through. And that's what we were taught as kids when we were playing football. Like, if you run harder, work harder, out tackle, out do this, then your quality will shine through because you're good footballers and you're playing in the X system. That goes right down to school football. So, why then, the money side of it comes in and changes that at a professional level. And yeah, as you said, the media here is just fucking mental.
We've got a player like that already. England we've got an English player like that already, who's playing for Liverpool at the minute in James Milner. Works harder than anyone, puts the yards in, puts the graft in, always gives 110%. All you ever hear is about what an example he is around the training ground. But because of the media and memes and whatnot, he's known as Boring Milner.
It's like Michael Carrick for England. It's criminal how many caps that guy got for England, but because he wasn't the big star or the voice or the show off or whatever, probably the same thing with Scholes. Like, these players got a criminal amount of caps compared to some of the other players I think are getting sort of caps left, right, and centre for England. Like Carrick could have been such a big player for us, and yet he barely played. For whatever reason, he wasn't a big enough star to play in our England team, our brilliant England team that was terrible, to be perfectly honest with you.
One of the issues is that the fact that I know he's not English, but he came from Man United's youth system in Pogba. He goes away to Juventus, and United have to pay a huge premium to get him back. And it's similar to what Chelsea are doing with Hudson-Odoi. But Bayern Munich have offered crazy money for him. They've stayed in. They're giving him a big contract because they don't want to be burnt like United were burnt, like City have been burnt with losing Jadon Sancho for nothing. Do you think they're giving them these to sit pretty? And if they come good, they come good. If not, we're not being burnt in the transfer market.
Yeah, I mean, Hudson-Odoi was a weird one, realistically. I think Bayern Munich looked over the other side to Dortmund and thought, wow, that's exactly what we need. We need someone like that. And then Hudson-Odoi kind of not burst into the scene. He wasn't unbelievable, but he was looking good before he got his injury. And they probably thought, yes, that's it. Time to get our paycheck. We'll do exactly what they've done with Dortmund because they will. Because the English teams love to buy English players for a premium. But Hudson-Odoi hasn't really kicked on. So, yeah, they did give him the contract. We was like, yeah, we don't even want to lose him. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We didn't want to lose him at the time. But it's up to him now to kick on. It's also down to the players. Like, you can't just be like an English talent and think, yeah, I'm entitled to play in this team and I'm entitled to start whatever because I'm on 120 grand a week now. It's now up to him to prove to himself and to the rest of everyone else that he's good enough to play for Chelsea's first team and produce on a week-to-week basis. Yeah,
but that's
not
all
what I mean.
young players. Do you know what I mean? Not all young players burst onto the scene.
Yeah.
Some young players take a while to get to where they need to be or to get to an elite level. They need time in and out of the first team and they need to go through hard times and playing bad. But we seem to think that as soon as there's a young player out from this country that looks like they've got a bit of potential and a bit of talent, straight away he's like the saviour. And we look at that person, and then as soon as
Williams had a couple games to Liverpool, and Sky Sports already saying, "Is he the mould of Van Dijk?"
Yeah, literally. He was playing non-league football last year, and he's come in for 2 games.
Van Dijk is the mould of Van Dijk, though. This is what I don't get.
It's mental, isn't it? It is mental. But this is what we're saying. This is the point that we are making right now. We just, again, overhype, put too much pressure on these young players because the media look at them and think, well, he's on 100 grand a week, whether he's 17 or whether he's 30. If he's on 100 grand a week, he's earning enough money to be good enough to be making an impression. But an 18-year-old kid is still learning his way in the game and finding his way and learning what's best for him.
We've always done it. It's just that the world's evolved and now there is more money available, so they get it earlier and the world's just changed. We've always done it. That's why I said about the sense of entitlement. Where you look back through every generation of England team, even beyond, before we were born, you go back and you think of how much, was heaped on Rooney. And before him, it was Michael Owen. And before him, it was Gaza. There's always this yardstick, and it's normally one person who is going to be the saviour of the English football team, and he's going to bring back the World Cup or the Euros or something. And it never materialises because it's based on stupid opinions. Like it's just our media in this country is crazy.
Well, there's no patience, is there? There's no patience at all. And the thing is with the 18-year-olds is because they're still kids, you give a child everything they've ever wanted and wished for on a silver platter, they're going to heap it up. They're not even going to look behind us, look and think about the decision. If you look at Rooney, I think Rooney's one of the best examples that actually did go on to fulfil potential of what he actually could have done. He had injuries, he had setbacks, exactly, he had the hunger.
Rooney always
and
had
yet
the
he
hunger,
came back.
He
came back, he adapted his game. He went to America, he came back. He's even swallowed his pride and dropped down to the Championship when a lot of people would have just probably called it a day or tried to make it in the Premier League. So I think Rooney's a fantastic person for people to actually look up to on the field, allegedly.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And even now, we use prime example right now would be obviously what happened with Foden and Greenwood. They were both massively bigged up, getting called into the squad, potential shining lights that are going to come in and rejuvenate things and help kick on with the other players. And then obviously young, 2 18-year-old men who make a mistake, who hasn't made we all thought, we won't put them on here, but we all fucked up when we was 18. We all did things and then you thought, oh fuck, what have I done there? like these geezers are obviously just in the spotlight because of the media and the attention that you get as soon as you're in that England team. And then, I mean, maybe not so much Foden, but obviously Greenwood's been absolutely slaughtered since. Like, they bring up videos of him doing fucking laughing gas from like 3 years ago off the back of that, you know, little mistake. And then it's like, oh, should he be in a team? And like, it's quite mad.
Because
but they were thrown on the bus.
It's not
because
fair.
The social media aspect is so big now, and everything you see is on camera. These papers have got to bring out so many different things to compete, that they've got to bring out crazy stories, like to sell their papers, and that they need to sort of, like at the Pogba thing the other day about comments that he said he wouldn't play for the French national team because of the situation with I think the president coming out and talking about Muslims and stuff like that, and like it was fake. But because there's such, like, you know what's going on in the player's life all the time now. So the papers used to be that sort of source. Now it's not. Now you go on Instagram, I can follow Pogba and know what he's doing. I know where he is. I know what he's doing for his next photo shoot, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So now it's like, where do we get our stories from? How do we sell the paper next? And that wasn't a dig, by the way, but next haircut. They just got to find these crazy stories. And it's like, you don't let a player's career breathe. You don't give them a chance when they make a mistake. It's like we just slaughter them because it sells, and that's the best thing for them. And it's these papers, the media, and that kill the game. They really
football's
do.
On everywhere, isn't it? You know, there's so many podcasts out there. You know, Sky Sports have football on every single day. They need something to talk about, and they need to generate it. So they need to make something tiny, and they have to make it into this huge thing so they can stretch it out for an hour, so they can stretch it out for a week. You know, you bang on there, the media, it's not just in football, in everyday life, they impede people's privacy. And then they think, well, let's get out there first because we need to be the first person for everyone to click and get the views, then be the accurate one because no one's going to be looking at you. You get it out 3 days later with all the facts, but yet someone else has come along within 5 minutes with a headline. Everyone's clicking the headline. No one's got the patience to wait for the actual facts.
So what you're saying is we should help the world and sack this off now.
And that was from the Terrace.
We're legit, mate. We are legit. Ask the Dortmund boys. Ask our special guest.
Ask our special guest. Yeah.
It'll be out by the time we can talk about him.
Yeah, it should be. At time of recording, it's not out just yet, but it will be out by the time this is out. So I hope you enjoyed it. Oh yeah, we can say it now, can't we?
That was my point.
Yes, we are.
Thanks again, Clive.
Yeah, Clive. You recognise his face? Yeah, I bet you do. Of course you do.
Talking about English talent, just to take your job for a minute, Dan.
No,
there is a good aspect to the media sometimes. Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, fantastic way to end the show. Some good news for us.
Yeah.
On and off the pitch, he's been fantastic the last couple of weeks, and actually even during lockdown with his fight against the government. Top man, don't have a bad word to say against him.
Yeah, I'm team you support. Yeah. He should get when fans are back in stadiums, he should get a standing ovation at every away ground in the Premier League.
It's a disgrace that he hasn't been voted for the PFA, the Sports Personality of the Year.
That's true.
Yeah.
For what he's done, it is
a
insane.
Disgrace, but what he's done is bigger than that.
Yeah, if you think
what
about
he's done is bigger than that.
What that award is meant to represent, they shouldn't even have an award. Like, they should just fucking give it to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, MBE, he could go on to get a lot more than that. He's fucking that is a prime example of someone using their status to help the wider community. And can't actually talk hard enough of him.
And what he's also done, he's galvanised fans of every club. Yeah. So with the boycotting of the pay-per-view, 9 times out of 10 when these things happen, fans will boycott it, but won't do anything else. Whereas now, with everything that he's done for kids to basically get fed, which still baffles me that he's having to fight this fight. Yeah. You've got teams all across the country that have raised hundreds of thousands of pounds to go towards food banks and feeding children. And you've got players like Reece James, who's come out and donated 10 grand of his own money to a local food bank in his area. And Villa raised tens of thousands of pounds. Liverpool and Everton fans banded together and raised
not just football teams. actual big billionaire companies, big takeaway, big fast food restaurants will come out in the cause, and I think it's fantastic.
It's a beautiful. I think it's just a beautiful example of the people having a voice and still having a say in this country, and still having something to something to say. Because for too long it seems like the politicians seem to feel like they've had their way and nothing can be done about it. And I think more recently, I think we're starting to see a little change in it, and starting to see that actually got something to say.
These little like signs of solidarity within a community are just it's really nice to see. And I normally hate people using their platforms to push other people's agendas, but I will happily sit on here and say, if you haven't signed that petition to help kids who can't afford, or families who can't afford meals, if you don't sign that, you're as big a scumbag as the people that voted against it.
No, absolutely. And you know what? All podcasts been talking about the money grabbing billionaires, taking more for themselves in such a uncertain time. So for someone who actually doesn't need to do anything, he doesn't even need to tweet anything about it. Like a lot of people don't. They don't need the ag. They don't need the hassle. For him to come out, be even publicly shamed by some of the MPs saying stick to football in such a condescending way, and then to keep coming, keep fine, and bringing rivals together, to bring billionaire companies together. It's if I had my hat on like you boys, I'd doff it.
It shows just how out of touch the government is with the modern modern person and the sort of little people, because they grew up with sort of rich families and never had to sort of struggle on that. And they just they would never understand what it'd be like for a single parent to not being able to feed their kids, or parents that are sort of disabled and can't work, or, for whatever reason, or there's a sister raising the family, or a son raising a family, how they'd never understand what it'd be to be that sort of in that struggle. And they are scumbags. Scumbag is the right word for them. No, I agree.
What Marcus Rashford has done here, Marcus Rashford has shown what we expect football to be. So people that are doing it for other people. So Marcus Rashford plays the game because he loves the game, but he's not in it to earn the shitload of money that he earns. He's in it to better his life, better his family's life, but better the lives of everyone else that watches the game. And this whole fight is what we want footballers to be like.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's a better way to end this one, honestly.
No,
but just to give a shout out to not only Marcus Rashford, but to our socials. Keep subscribing, keep liking, keep sharing. We appreciate all of it. We've got the big Clyde Tilsley interview, which is going to be coming out soon. So please share the shit out of that.
It's out.
But also next week we'll be on to what we was just speaking about, the most overpriced English players going, and I have a feeling that the striker is going to be Andy Carroll.
Oh God, I'm not looking forward to talking about him.
Yeah, we're sticking with British. We go British.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take these scumbags down.
We'll think of it. We'll do it. We haven't done an 11 for a while, so yeah, that time.
No, we haven't. It'll be good fun.
Season, isn't it?
It will be.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And let's hope that no big media companies steal this one, like our Mourinho 11.
Can we get Henderson in?
Dean Henderson. I don't know how much he costs.
Joking. I'm joking.
Whoa.
No, I love Hendo.
Yeah, got
another good man.
Don't edit that one out, Connor. Keep that in.
Right.
All right. That's us for another week. We'll catch you later.
Been a pleasure.
See you later.